We did tee up, not to make you relive it, but just so the audience gets a flavor of how the media portrayed you, who you are truly a national healthcare policy expert. You've been that for years, in addition to all of your other wonderful credentials. I mean, we could go on and on about your resume. I guess I'll just tick off a few just so in case people don't know. Got your Bachelor of Science from University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana. Got your MD from University of Chicago. You were chief resident at Northwestern, fellowship at the University of Pennsylvania, expert in neuroradiology, leading clinician and researcher in novel applications of advanced MRI and disorders of the brain and the spine and so on. But even Victor, in his piece talking about you, said this is not only one of the world's top neuroradiologists, but you are the national expert on public health policy, especially in the cost-benefit analysis of government programs, which is what's directly relevant, right, in the COVID situation. It's not all about virology or immunology. It's also about cost-benefit analysis and what's the best decision for overall public health, keeping in mind some of the things you were mentioning about, teenage suicide and anxiety and depression and abuse and blah, blah, blah. So the media, not cognizant or not willing to acknowledge all the rest of that, decided to portray you as basically some sort of a destructive nutcase. And here's a little flavor of their best hits.
Dr. Atlas, okay, a guy with no pandemic experience. He literally would know more if he stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Further, Scott Atlas, his main COVID advisor, his COVID Rasputin, if you will.
Atlas, of course, is a neuroradiologist with no expertise in epidemiology, but increasingly has the president's ear when it comes to the coronavirus.
But now he's got this new advisor, not an expert, not somebody who is steeped in the science here, according to his own colleagues.
Okay, first off, Dr. Atlas clearly wouldn't know science if it kicked him in the Atlas.
Oh, my Lord. I mean, honestly, what a dope. So many stupid people on television. It's kind of upsetting, but whatever. It is what it is. So how is that for you, experiencing that, sitting at home or in the White House?
Well, I have to say I was naive. I'm very naive. I'm not a politician. I've not been in government at all. I actually thought that, truth mattered, that facts mattered, and my role was to provide the best possible advice in a big crisis. Now, you have to realize that what was implemented was what I call the Birx-Fauci lockdowns. The Birx-Fauci lockdowns were implemented for the entire year, including during my time there. Nothing was really changed except in a few states. I only actually visited one state. So if you think that the policies failed, you better ask Drs. Birx and Fauci and the people that imposed those mandated behaviors and lockdowns, because that's what was implemented, period. Mm-hmm. Now, what happened to me, the problem with what happened to me, I have to say, I thought I was sort of a tough guy, and I'm probably not as tough as I thought. But I have a supportive family, and I knew I was right. I mean, what the irony of the whole thing is that every single thing I said was correct. So I knew that, but I also had something much bigger going on, which was I had millions of people, it turned out, that were depending on me. I had thousands of emails a week from all over the country, from mothers and fathers and seniors and students and priests praying for me to keep going, and scientists from all over the country saying, yes, Scott, you're right. Please keep going. We're afraid to step forward. So it's very important that good people have the courage to step forward and do what's right. This is service to the country. It has absolutely nothing to do with a political party. And yet, unfortunately, right now, the media is super destructive, as you know. The American media, particularly 90+% of stories about COVID were negative, yet only half the stories in English speaking media outside the US were negative. 90+% of stories on the schools opening were negative in the US, only half in other countries, English speaking major media. And even when the cases were going down in the US, the stories about cases going up outnumbered those stories 5-1. This is data from Brown and Dartmouth University. So the English-speaking media outside the U.S. was sane. American media was, in my view, very destructive and harmful. And that also happened by the university faculty here, who are extraordinarily politicized and really blind to the facts. And this is very dangerous for these people teach our youth, and these people have a lot of influence. And now we're in the situation where science has become politicized. So it's not really about me, but we need to really get a handle on this. And I and others who have a lot of care about the country, without science and trust in science, what do we have? I mean, this is very frightening. I mean, we really need to get a handle on this and get this politics out of this fact finding, because if we suppress the freedom of ideas and exchange of ideas freely, we will never arrive at the truths and solutions we need to solve other crises.